Welcome, everybody, to podcast number 21 with your boy, Angelo. And this episode, we're going to dedicate a little bit of time to romance. Wow! Now, the reason I'm bringing up the subject, not really romance, but just my personal experience in, dating and stuff. Because last week, I went on my first and possibly only coronavirus date. Met this girl online on one of the dating apps and chit-chatted a little bit, texted and whatnot, and decided to get some food and watch a little TV. We decided to come to my place for the first date because she really didn't feel safe or comfortable going out at a restaurant. Really, she was way more introverted than me in all things, but especially with coronavirus. I was willing to go to a park or go to a cafe or something, but no, she was not all about that. She just kind of wanted to just come on over to my place because there was mutual trust there. So I'm not going to judge anybody for how they feel about coronavirus, honestly. Safety's all right. And, I try to be somewhat of a gentleman. I'm not an animal. I know it's got to be scary as hell for you single women out there to go to a stranger's house for dinner. You don't know what kind of man this person's going to be. So, yeah, she came over. We ordered Chinese food. We had a little bit of wine. Watched Bert Kreischer's Cabin. A little bit of Bob's Burgers. Now, Bert Kreischer's Cabin, it was okay. Bert Kreischer's, I like him. He's my favorite. He's one of my... No, he's one of my favorite comedians. I can say that. Yeah, he's one of the better ones. Anyway, and then kissed a little bit, fooled around a little bit. But wasn't really much of a spark there. There was some red flags that I had about her before we met, and I'm sure she had some about me. But we talked enough, and the red flags weren't enough for either of us to go running in the opposite direction. So we decided to meet up, and it didn't work out. It's okay. It's okay. You take that leap of faith, especially in coronavirus, so it's even more of a leap of faith, if you believe it's real. But yeah, so it just got me thinking that it was an okay date. It wasn't a great one, but it wasn't a bad date. And so it got me thinking, what has been some of my best and some of my worst first dates? Now, a couple episodes ago, I talked about the movie theater one, so I won't really go into that again. Basically, I was having a great date. I'll summarize it here real quick. So basically, we went on a date. It was going really well, but I drank way too much and smoked way too much, and I got so drunk that I ended up throwing up in a movie theater and then leaving her there. So I did not see her again until I did when we agreed to go to a concert, and that was a whole other story. But anyway, so I was kind of a late bloomer when it came to going out on dates, having girlfriends. I think I lost my virginity. It was 18 or 19, which is late considering some kids more and more are losing it younger and younger. So I think 18 or 19 is maybe middle of the road when it comes to that. But anyway. So, I think the Christian strict upbringing at school and the, not shaming, but they kind of made you afraid and feel bad about, natural things. Well, if you get an erection, little boys, then it's a sin and you're going to have to pray to God about it. Well, little boys, if you start thinking impure thoughts about so-and-so, then that's something you have to pray away. Stuff like that. It really made you feel bad for feeling basic emotions when you're going through that stuff. So, anyway, there was a few girls I remember in high school that I know had a thing for me. They liked me, but I was just so shy. I kind of had a thing in high school where I would flirt a lot, and if a girl flirted back, I would seize up, I'd get really shy, and I would just make fun of myself, make fun of her, just, try to be a comedian and try to move on. And some poor girls back then hung it out longer than others, but I just could not believe that a girl would actually like me. So I proceeded to just be the clown, but it worked all right. I had a fun time in high school, but It wasn't until probably my senior year, maybe. I don't know. I forget, but I was really excited to go on, like, in my opinion, that at least I remember was my first date. Like I said, I don't remember if I was a junior or senior, but I was roughly 16 maybe. And I'm not going to name names here, but she went to my high school and we were chit-chatting it up a little bit, and then I finally had the courage to, like, kind of ask her to, like, hang out outside of school, and so she said yes, and so I went to her. She was in a class after school, or she was in some club, like drama club or writing club or some kind of art club. I don't remember which one. And I saw her there, and then we got some food. And anyway, I thought my little 16-year-old mind was saying this is the greatest thing I've ever experienced in my life. I'm in love. I'm thinking of babies and marriage and all that shit. And I am going and I'm reaching to open a door because we're going to go outside the school and walk outside. And so I'm leaning in to open the door because it's a pull door. And as I'm doing that, some kid in the opposite direction who was running like a motherfucker burst through the door that I was trying to open, and the door opened so fast it hit this poor girl right in her temple in the fucking head, and she just collapsed and she went out. And that kid just went running still in the opposite direction. He had no idea what he did. He had no idea that he concussed this poor girl. I remember just being shocked, and I was like stunned because everything happened so quickly, and it was such a kind of disgusting sound the door made on this girl's fucking head. So she was out for maybe 7 or 8 seconds before she kind of opened her eyes, and I helped her up. But she was a real, completely different person after that. Understandably so. She just got popped in the fucking head and lost consciousness. But it kind of just ruined the flow of the evening. It ruined the whole thing. And so I waited for her, and then she got a ride home, and I never heard from her again in that manner, you know. The time passed, and so I thought I was cursed. But that was the first real one. And then I kind of had a few hits and misses again, nothing serious. I never really had an actual date. You know, there were girls at parties that I would hang out with that party, but I'd get a phone number, and then I would never call, or I never would text or something because I was just so shy. Sometimes I got emails because this was the early 2000s, so that shit still was happening. But it really wasn't until college did I kind of figure something out. Yeah, so I learned in college that if the girl made 99% of the moves, I could then take a leap of faith that I could do the 1%. So... But I was just so shy, and I didn't even attempt to, like, read into the obviousness of that some of these girls had. I worked with some. I got a job out in Covington where I was living right when I started college with a bunch of my buddies. And the closest that I ever came to actually dating a girl for real was freshman year in college. One of my roommates met a girl at some kind of church thing, I don't know, and she had a bunch of friends. And so we kind of went to 2 different parties, and there was this one girl, her and I hit it off, and that was the first girl that I asked for her phone number, and after like hours of agonizing over it, and like in my room, I'm like, oh fuck, what am I going to do? I finally got the balls to send her a text. We never actually hung out though, because a couple days later, my roommate and the girl had a falling out, and so I just stopped talking to the girl for some reason, because I just thought that's what you did. Because my friend and her friend broke up, therefore I can't possibly keep talking to her. I don't know what I was thinking. And then she, of course, wrote me back after a couple days, calling me an asshole and all that shit, which I totally deserved. So I blew that one. But I did finally get my first actual girlfriend. But before I jump ahead to that, it's clear to me now that I can look back at the latter part of high school and pretty much the first half of college, where I had such crushes on girls, like over the heels crushes. Like, I don't know why, but I'm always like, in my mind, like a hopeless romantic. Like, I think I saw a lot of movies growing up about a lot of romantic movies, like romantic dramas, like English Patient, that kind of shit. That's what I think love is in my brain back then. And to be honest, a little bit now, like, I think there has to be so much emotion and longingness and there usually is a level of conflict that you have to resolve. You know, it's a very plot driven, and I think that gets me into trouble sometimes because I think you get worked up and you kind of fantasize. And so early on, I pretty much had a crush on any girl that showed any kind of kindness to me. And oh my God, some of these poor girls at the coffee stands or the bank or just anywhere where I was in and out and I got any kind of level of customer service, I was that kind of dope. Early 20s Angelo was that kind of dope. Oh, the girl at the coffee shop was nice to me. Maybe she wants to go out with me. Then I started going and talking to her all the time. Then it came to be like, what am I doing? This is her job. But it took me a little while of embarrassing myself to realize that. So, but I think most guys kind of go through that. At least I don't know. I don't know. I feel like most guys would have gone through something like that where you kind of had to be embarrassed by a woman to kind of realize, okay, this is my place actually. Like I can't just read into everything. Not everything is like hormone driven, you know? And so that's what I distinctly remember about my late teens and up until really my mid 20s. And so, yeah, it's fun. It's kind of cringing to think back about some of the girls I was hounding. Never was a creep. I don't want to give that impression. I never did anything bad. But, yeah. What was that line from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind? Jim Carrey first spots Kate Winslet on the subway or on the train or bus or whatever they were on, the public transportation. And he thinks to himself, why do I fall in love with every woman I see? That's kind of how I felt. So it got me in a lot of emotional trouble. But what my first actual girlfriend, this poor woman, felt the same way about me. She was a nice church girl I met at a young church get-togethers. I don't know what they're called anymore. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And she had such a good sense of humor. That's what attracted me. That's when it kind of made me feel comfortable around her. She actually made me laugh. And I realized I didn't have to care. I didn't have to do all the humor stuff myself because that was my only in those days. And if I'm being honest, I still use humor to this day. But back then, that's all I got. You know, I was shy, nervous. I thought I was fat. I thought I was awful. You know, I had a very low self-esteem. Always thinking I was fat. No girl would ever like me because I'm ugly. I got big ass. I got titties. All that stuff. And, you know, it's funny now. I look back at, you know, teenager Angelo, early 20s Angelo. I'm thinking, he looks pretty good. I wish I had that body now. Fuck, you know. So I just wish I kind of got out of that mindset a little sooner in life. But, fuck it. You live and you learn, right? So anyway, we started going out with this girl. And I'm not going to go into specifics, but that was my first time with a lot of things. Wink, wink. And so, but we broke up only after, I don't remember. I honestly don't think it was that long. A few months maybe. Because she was going off to Western University. And I was staying at Green River Community College. And so we kind of decided that we really hadn't dated that long enough to kind of do a long distance thing. And with my work schedule, my school schedule, I wouldn't be able to go up there on the weekends and she couldn't come down here. So I thought we called it quits. I thought things were kind of over where we left it because we said, well, okay, well, you're going to go up there and I'm staying here and it's going to be hard for us to see each other. And we weren't really communicating after we had that conversation, but there was a little drama afterwards where there was a risque picture of me and another female friend that was on the MySpace, if y'all remember MySpace. It was just a funny picture. Nothing was meant by it, but this old girlfriend of mine thought that I was cheating on her or that she thought we were still together or we were up in the air and I was openly cheating or openly flaunting or something. And I hadn't talked to this girl for a couple of weeks. So I thought we were completely over. And I even was telling her, well, even if I didn't even do anything, let me tell you what happened. I would be honest with you. But so, yeah, obviously that was the end of that. Oh, the young love. Your first actual relationship, your first breakup, the first confusion, the first sadness, the first whatever. I mean, I had got over it already, and to find out that she was still kind of under the assumption that we were together, it kind of was a weird thing for your first relationship, the confusion. And so I thought that's what all relationships were. There was a grieving period, and then you get over it, and then more confusion and emotions. You're like, holy shit, I thought I was done, and they reeled me back in, baby, like that scene from Godfather 3. But No, it was I think all in all, that first relationship was a pretty good one. A pretty good way to kind of learn about what it means to be in a relationship, what it means to have someone that you care about and actually want to listen to them. I don't know. It was just good. I don't need to go into specifics of why your first relationship is important, or you get a little bit of knowledge about it. I hope most of you have learned some things about your first relationships. Serious one, I suppose. I know I have, but yeah, that was what a wacky way to end your first relationship. So yeah, after that, I thought I was pretty much hot stuff for about 3 days until I got rejected by the first girl I talked to, and then it was back to old Angelo again. But, and then I made a mistake that I'm sure a lot of people have made. And, I only say it's been a mistake because it hasn't worked for me. It hasn't worked out for me in my favor. So, it worked for Pam and Jim on The Office, but I'm 0 for 2 in that department. So, that was my first time I was in a relationship with a coworker. And that one was just a tornado of highs and lows. It was the live fast and die young kind of relationship because we worked together and we lived so close together that we were basically with each other almost 24/7. So she was over at my place all the time. I was over at her parents' place every now and then. We would see each other at work all the time because I believe it was in the summer, so neither of us were in school. And so that was like the first time I've ever been around someone I'm in a relationship with for the majority of my day for months at a time. So it's funny because I honestly think that we were only in a relationship for maybe 5 months or so, 4 or 5 months, but it felt like years because we were just together all the time. And we were so young, and both of us were pretty young and inexperienced, but we just kind of clicked. I mean, she was over at my house. She was staying the night at my place a lot. I stayed the night at her place every now and then. And so that was a wild one. That was a fun one, but it was pretty crazy. And the breakup was not good because obviously we worked together, and we're both young and stupid and full of emotions. And so our manager had multiple times had to sit us down and say, one of you is either going to have to leave this branch or you're going to have to figure it out. Ultimately, I thought we figured it out. We were somewhat friendly at the branch, but ultimately she transferred, and that was the end of that. And so, yeah, I don't remember much after that because I think I was getting ready to switch universities, and so I spent a lot of time in school trying to get ready for that stuff. And then when I transferred to University of Washington, we moved also from Covington to Renton, and so that commute from Renton to the University of Washington in Tacoma, where I was going, was quite a adjustment from living in Covington and driving 10 minutes to school at Green River. So then I started a relationship with a friend of a friend. And this person I've known for years, been to a lot of the same parties. Like I said, we had a lot of the same friends. She was a little bit older than me. I think she had maybe 4 years on me. And that was a good one. That was a fun one because we both had a lot of friends in particular. But near the end, she started, in my opinion, to be overbearing and bossy and snidey and almost trying to be a maternal figure or a mother to me. And I was not into that. I didn't like what was leading on, so we decided to break up, and that was not a good breakup because that one, you said what you had to say, and then she would come back and try to make the relationship work again, and I had to remind her it was her idea to break up ultimately, and that was true. And I said okay, and maybe this is cocky on my part, but I think she was surprised that I said yes. And then she asked me back 3 or 4 times, and every time I said no, and I kept trying to be friendly and nice, and I even had some friends saying, you may have to stop talking to her because she's not getting it. And that was a bad one. I felt so bad. And still a little do because I was so inexperienced in how to deal with something like that. Neither of my parents were helpful. I had no friends that were going through the same thing. I mean, being at a Mexican restaurant and having your the person you're sitting with across the table start crying and you're 3 margaritas in and you're asking for the bill to get the hell out of there is like a fucking movie. I remember one time I pretended to fall asleep when she was over trying to get the relationship back together. I just was laying on my futon because that's how I slept back in the day. Very classy, I know. I pretended to fall asleep and then she kept talking and then I started to snore and ultimately she left and got really mad and that was not a good one. And that was the last relationship I had for a long time. I tried, but nothing ever worked. And I think I missed some opportunities because I think that one just really, that last relationship, the breakup was so bad. I was exhausted. I kind of was in 2 long relationships about a year and a half, and they were so different from one another, but both ended in a bad breakup. And the one with the coworker, she did want to get back together, but it wasn't as emotional as that, the last one. But the third one just wiped me out. So I kind of just went to parties. I tried having some fun times. I did some things I'm ultimately not too proud of. I've never been good at one night stands, and I don't have the moves to deal with that. If you catch my meaning. So, and then I kind of graduated. I did graduate college, and I had to move back home because I couldn't afford living on my own, and I didn't really know anyone looking for roommates. And so once I moved home with my father, that was the end. I wasn't even attempting to go out on dates or meet anybody because I felt embarrassed that I was a college graduate living at home with your dad in a 1-level Rambler, He has a nice house, but it's not really made, I wanted to be on my own and I had no money. All that loan debt. I was working at a job I wasn't a huge fan of, and I kept having these plans of moving out, but then I kept getting sidetracked. Oh, my friends want to go on a trip. Oh, I want to go here. I want to buy this. Next thing you know, you're just more and more in debt, and you're not getting any closer to moving out. And so, yeah. Plus, my father and I both have big personalities, and we were butting heads a lot. But it was interesting because, because my parents divorced when I was such a young baby, I think I was 3 or so, I saw my dad a lot, but I never lived with him. So growing up with my mom and my sister, moving out when I was 18, and then moving back home when I was 25 maybe, 24, 25, I don't remember. And I was there for 4 or 5 years. And those were hard years. A lot of friends getting married, a lot of engagements, a lot of babies being born. I felt like I was missing out. I stopped really going out to the clubs because I thought even if I meet a chick, what am I supposed to do? Bring her to my dad's house in Renton? I'm in Seattle? No. So I just got very shy again, closed off, started feeling bad again. I put on a lot of weight because I just kind of said, fuck it. And it really wasn't until I was able to kind of get my shit together. Well, I know what it was. I got fired. The job that I hated, but I kept staying at, that fucking bank. And then they finally had enough and they fired me for something really stupid. By the way, I could have been fired multiple times for more serious infractions for what they got me for. And I had a lot of people high up fighting against the firing, just so you know. But that was kind of a wake-up call, because now I was depressed, living at home, and unemployed. And being unemployed for 8 months was one of the worst times of my life. That's when I know I gained a lot of weight. I just kind of said, fuck it. I still saw friends, but it was less frequently, and I got more, I wouldn't say I got more closed off, but I definitely got a little bit more introverted about things. So it really wasn't until I was able to find a job that is my current job at Amazon, and I started to commute to Seattle, and that kind of got me out of that funk, and then I was able to pay off the debts and finally buy my condo that was in. And that's when I said, all right, I'm on my own. I have a little bit of money. I can do a little bit of stuff. So, all right, let's see if I can work on myself, because I thought the moment I bought my own place, I'd be a fucking Casanova. I'd be like bringing women over all the time, having parties, because I was going out in downtown Renton all the time. I love you, Uncle Moe's. I had some fun times there, still do. But I realized I still was very uncomfortable with some aspects of myself. I didn't like my physical body. I didn't like how I was pretty judgmental about a lot of people. I would really have a short leash for a lot of people. If they did one thing that was slightly annoying, done. And yeah, I kind of was like, I need to kind of work on myself, because there was one girl I put myself out there for, the second coworker, and we went on a few dates, and I could tell that I was so shy to make a move. It's like I was back in high school again, and I was in my late 20s. I said, shit, I should have this figured out by now. I felt really embarrassed that I didn't really know what to do. I knew what I wanted to do, but I couldn't make the move, and ultimately, obviously, it didn't work out, and we ended things. But it was hard to even say we had a thing, but I would say we were at least an item for a couple weeks. Maybe I read too much into it, but you know, we did go out on multiple one-on-one dates, and then we did see each other at her place where she was house sitting. So I don't know what you want to call it, but anyway, I never really truly made a serious move, and it was basically like, she's not looking for a friend, so we ended it. And then I stopped being really, really friendly with her at work, because I was only really friendly with her at work because I wanted to go out with her, and I was still friendly to her, but I wasn't like buddy buddy, and that really pissed her off. And I could see now, you know, I was a little assholey there, a little bit of two-faced there, but yeah, I had to work on myself, and that took a while. And I think we'll keep it there for now. I think that would make an interesting segment on another podcast that I can go a little bit more into it, because that did take a lot of introspection and a lot of time that, who knows, maybe it'll help some of you, my listeners. It helped me immensely. So, yeah, let's continue with the less introspective stuff, shall we? You know what, one thing I miss during this quarantine? I miss getting pedicures. And most of you listening to this probably know that your boy Angelo loves him some pedicures. But maybe there's some of you out there that doesn't know this. And let me tell you, I love getting pedicures. Probably, if I could get 2 a month, if I'm being spoiled, perfect. I have no use for manicures, though. I mean, my hands would get fucked up in 10 minutes, so there's no point. But my feet, it's so good. And I got turned on to pedicures while I was living out on my own in Covington, like we were talking about earlier. My father actually got a pedicure, multiple pedicures, and kept telling me about it. And I thought it was, you know, a little too feminine. I thought it was something that would feel weird, would feel strange. I don't like people touching my feet, you know. So I kind of put it off, but, you know, I was intrigued, and there was a place by my house in Covington, and I said, fuck it, let's roll. And the first one I got, I jumped a lot. I was ticklish. They were laughing at me, but it felt kind of good. It kind of felt good to have someone, like, gripping my foot and just beating the shit out of it and then kind of massaging it. It felt really good. So then I went back a couple months later, and then it was once every 3 months, 2 months, and it was once a month. And I pretty much have been getting pedicures for years now. And I distinctly remember not really enjoying the full experience of a good pedicure, really probably until my 4th or 5th visit, because I didn't get what the rush, not the rush, but like I didn't get what the big deal was. Like, it felt good every now and then, but you know, I was still ticklish, I was tense, I still wasn't kind of relaxing and allowing the pedicure to happen. You know, I was going into it with, like, what's a good analogy? Like, you're dipping your toe in the water, you're testing the water, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's good just to jump right in and get it over with, and that's what I should have done with the pedicure. I would have saved some money and time, but you know, once like I said, I distinctly remember probably that 4th or 5th visit where I kind of just let my body fully relax, and I kind of let them do whatever they want. And you know, I'm not going to say it's a sensual experience, unlike on a sensual scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I'm ready to roll right now, like I'm good to go, and number 1 being I'm actually feeling like I want to go home. I would say on the sensual scale it's probably a 3 or a 4. Like, it feels good, and maybe you feel a little tingle every now and then, maybe something wakes up a little bit and you're like, ooh, what's going on here? So I don't know, it's just something that has always relaxed me, and I feel really damn good afterwards. And so, yeah, it kind of became a staple in the treat yourself kind of vibe that I try to give myself every now and then, if that makes any sense. Maybe some of you feel the same way or have your own thing that's like that. For me, it's pedicures, it's lattes, it's maybe getting some good chocolate somewhere. I don't know. I'm sure there's others. Maybe going to the weed shop more than once a month. I don't know. But, I truly believe you got to treat yourself every now and then. But with coronavirus, of course, my pedicures have stopped. And I know they're open now. I know some people that have gotten them. But, I just don't trust it yet. I don't, the sanitation of those foot sink things they use has always been in question. I always try to pick the places that have the best sanitation, that have the best ratings, of course. But, you can look up their health inspections and all that shit online. There was a dynamite place in the Renton Highlands that I haven't gone to anymore because I don't live there anymore. There was a decent place in downtown Renton, but they were kind of hit and miss. The place in Covington is always good. But now that I'm out here in Auburn, I haven't even begun to do my search. But there was one place that these coffee girls, or the baristas, were telling me at the drive-thru espresso that I go to. They were you get pedicures, tee-hee. I was like, cool it, bitch, yeah. It feels good. It's good for the mind, body, and soul, you know what I'm saying? And so, I don't know. But I just don't know if it's a good idea. Even if they have like a plexiglass in front of you and your foot sticking through a hole and they're wearing a mask and gloves and you're wearing a mask, it just seems weird. And see, the big thing, at least for me, on a personal level, is when I get a pedicure, it's a time to relax. To kind of just let loose a little bit, The good places have good chairs. Maybe they give you water, I wish you could smoke in there, but you can't smoke there anymore, they tell me. And usually they have like 4 or 5 tiers of things. I always go, if there's a 5-tier program at this pedicure place, let's imagine, I always try to get number 3. I'm not here to waste my time with the 1 and 2. I wipe my ass with the 1. But a 4 and 5, there's rarely any difference between 3 and 5. Rarely. So I stick with the 3. Maybe 3 times a year, I'll say, you know what, I've been a good little boy, I'll get a 4. And then the real good place is they got that paraffin dip. They put your little feet in a fucking bag with like that pink waxy shit, and it burns like a motherfucker, but then it kind of hugs it, and it feels so good. And then you get the ones that have the hot black heat stones, and they just rub it up and down your leg, and it's like, it's like a good kind of pain. And then if you really get a good person doing it, they just pull on your feet just the right way, so they always pop, pop, pop. And so, yeah, I love it. And plus, if you get someone that's sociable that doing your feet, because, not to pigeonhole, a lot of the time, there's not a lot of conversation going on. Usually there is a language barrier. But every now and then you get someone who can keep up a conversation, and if they're funny, it's great. So that's why I love the place in the Renton Highlands, is that I was one of the few straight men, they told me, that would go in there. When I first went in, they all assumed I was gay. And they asked me point blank, you have no boyfriend? And I'm like, I don't have a boyfriend, what? It's like, you don't like boys? And I'm like, no, I like girls. And so then they kind of like, okay. And then they completely changed their... It was weird. It was weird, if I'm being honest. But fuck it. They gave good pedicures. I'll look the other way on some issues. But they were just so nice. Like, they would always talk to me. One time they were eating lunch, like as a homemade lunch or whatever, and they said, do you want some? And I was like, you're offering me food? Fuck yeah. And it was good. It was like barbecue pork. I think it was barbecue pork. It was or spare ribs or something. It was good. And they, for whatever reason, there was always like children running around. And the woman who owned the place had a little girl that was about 5 or 6 or so. And she would always love playing with my shoes because she said that I have big feet, the biggest feet she saw. And I'm like, this little bit, Oh, I remember one time teasing that kid about, if you keep being mean to me like that, your feet are going to be as big as my feet. And she was horrified. She went right into her mom. Her mom was laughing, and everybody was laughing. And the girl was like, my feet are never going to be that big. And I have a little bit of hair on my big toe, just a little bit. And I would remember pointing. I'm like, yep, you're going to have hair on your toes. And she was just mortified. No, so the kid was fun too. So it was just a fun time. It was a nice party atmosphere. But unfortunately, I'm not going to drive all the way out to Renton to get a pedicure. And so, but again, even if I did find a good place, I just don't know if it's a good time to start. So I don't know, people. if you go to a good place, shoot me their name or whatnot. I'll do a little digging. I'd like to stay around Auburn. I think I should check out the place that those barista girls recommended to me. But I don't know. I gotta check out their safety and stuff. I don't know. I just don't know if it's worth it. But I tell you, my heels are getting sharp, and I can only do so much, people. I can only do so much. And I got big feet. I got a big toe, and sometimes if I'm wearing the wrong shoe too long, I can get those son of a bitch ingrown toenails. And is there anything worse than having an ingrown toenail and you can't do a goddamn thing about it because you don't know what you're doing? Like, you don't want to make it worse. There were sometimes I'm digging in there with tweezers and clippers, and you click something you're not supposed to click, and then it starts bleeding, and then your foot hurts in 2 different ways, and you're just like, oh, kill me. So that's another reason you got to find a good pedicure, man. Anyway, my recommendation for those of you who think, I'm not getting a pedicure, those are for rich white bitches who drink champagne. No. No, they're for the common man. Everybody gets them. Come on. Everybody who's cool. Do away with your prejudices and, wear the right shoes. And don't wear, like, sneakers or boots or some shit. Wear something that you can easily take on or off. Maybe slip-ons, you know what I'm saying? Slippers or some shit. I don't know. And don't wear jeans because that's hard to tuck up. Wear sweatpants or shorts or something. Do the ladies a favor, or the boys. I've never had. There's not a lot of men that work in those places, but I'm sure there are. I take it back. There was back in the days when my mom and sister lived out in Kent. I went to their nail salon once or twice, and it was owned by a gay couple, and they were hilarious. I love those guys. I completely forgot about them. But yeah, anyway, I don't know if I'm making any sense here. So yeah, Angelo recommends pedicures, baby. So in closing, I'd like to just briefly talk about, in my humble opinion, the benefits of experts in their field telling you something positive. An example of this was I just went to go see my doctor a couple days ago. I haven't seen her probably since January or February. Back in January 2020, I got super sick. I'm talking bedridden sick for about 3 days. It felt like the flu mixed with pneumonia. It was a bad one. And I thought I could fight it off, but ultimately I wasn't getting any better. It was about a week and a half of me fighting this thing, so I finally went to the doctor, and shit, I believe they did say I had some level of pneumonia or something. Something was fucked up in my lungs or something. I don't know. It was a big deal. Later I thought it was definitely coronavirus. So I went back to my doctor, but I didn't see her. This was just like the lab section of the whatever. And they just took my blood to run if I had the antibodies, which would have proven that I had it, beat it, and now I'm immune to it or whatnot. This was back in probably April. It showed that I never had it. So whatever I had in January wasn't coronavirus. Or at least the testing back then said it wasn't coronavirus. Because I still have my doubts. I am, after all, an American, and I tend to believe my own opinions over educated scientific minds. So this was my first time seeing my doctor since I was, like, gravely ill. And, I do like the precautions I had to take going in, taking my temperature, asking me all these questions, blah, 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 blah. And I went right in, goofed off with the nurse a little bit. She was nice. And they took my blood pressure, but dumb fuck Angelo here, I completely spaced. Usually if you're taking your blood pressure and you're there for, like, lab cell, like, to take blood to, like, test for, diabetes and coronavirus and God only knows what, common sense says don't have a lot of caffeine or sugar or whatnot. Well, I spaced. I took the whole day off, so it was one of my treat yourself days, like we talked about. So I got myself a nice triple shot latte, and I downed that motherfucker in the car. And of course, my blood pressure was through the roof when I was there, and they said, God, this is the highest we've ever seen here. And I said, well, my bad, I forgot. I had 3-shot latte. Like, oh my God. They were making fun of me and stuff, so I have to come back and do that over again. But it was so cool to see my doctor. Now, my doctor and I have a good professional relationship. She's this older, I believe, Romanian woman who is just, she's so cool. And she's funny, she's quirky, she keeps it real, she doesn't sugarcoat things. I like that. And she was happy to see me. She actually shook my hand, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't shooken someone's hand in a long time. She's like, well, you can trust me, I'm a doctor, I know what I'm doing. And I was like, oh my God, okay. And so she was asking me questions, what I was there for, and blah, 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 blah. And she said, I have to commend you. You have lost weight since the last time you were here. And I'm like, really? And I weighed myself, and I weighed 218. And for some of you, that's a lot. To me, that's a lot. However, I remember distinctly only a couple months ago I was in the 230s. This is before COVID. I thought for sure, people, the way that I've been eating, the way that I've been Uber eating, no, I have been more active, mind you, and I have been trying to balance all that unhealthiness that I was just talking about. But I thought for sure I've gained weight because I have been eating a lot of shit. But somehow I've lost 20 pounds. And she was so excited, and it was genuine because she knows this is something that we've discussed and we've kind of spent a lot of time on in my years of going there. Like people, I've seen nutritionists at this doctor. This is the UW clinic in Renton. I've gone to this place for years. I've probably been going there for 6 years. They know me there. And I formed a pretty good relationship with this doctor. There was a second doctor I've seen every now and then. He's a younger guy. He's a little too young, you know what I'm saying? He looks like he's younger than me. I don't want my doctor to be younger than me. I don't know. Maybe I'm an old curmudgeon. Maybe I'm an old cunt. I don't know. But I also went to a nutritionist there once a month for like 8 months. And so it meant a lot that she was that excited. And then, just to make my ego even more, she said, I got to tell you, this is probably going to be my best appointment of the day. And it was like 11 o'clock. And I said, well, yeah, but she's like, yeah, I know who my patients are. And she's like, I'm serious, Angelo. You're the only person that I've seen really in the last couple months, 6 months or so, that have not only kept off weight, but have lost weight, and you're as healthy. I guess there wasn't, like, physically anything wrong with me, but let's wait till the lab results comes back. All right, doctor? All right, doc? I'm not going to say her name. By the way, I did ask her if she would be interested in being on the podcast, and she just laughed and ignored the question until I brought it up later. I said, I'm serious. My whole thing about starting a podcast is I want to interview people, and I want to interview my doctor. You're a great doctor, and you're a great. I think you're a great speaker. I think you and I can talk pretty openly about things. And she looked at me like, this kid's fucking nuts, but maybe. So I'll take that as maybe. I'll broach the subject when I see them again for the lab work. But I know. So this goes back a long ways with me, people. I like it when people I deem experts in their field, doctors, dentists, eye doctors, architect, or whatever, certain artists, actors, painters, what have you, athletes. If you are doing something that they do or take part in something that's their job, like a doctor, and they tell you good things and they mean it and they can support it when you doubt it, because I doubt, whenever someone gives me a compliment, I doubt it. Like when my dentist says, hey, you've done a really good job with your teeth, I'm always waiting for that but. And so I always say, what do you mean? Like, describe it. How am I doing a good job? Because I don't believe you. And then they go, oh my God, they laugh. Oh, you're so funny. You don't have any cavities, and we've seen you've been flossing more. And I'm like, fuck yeah. And I get excited, and I say, fuck, that's the best news I've heard all day. But yes, I do curse a lot around these people. Maybe that's on me, but I think they enjoy it. No one's ever complained. So it was nice for my doctor to give me those kudos. It's nice when someone you hold in high esteem tells you you've been doing a good job, especially if they have you on a plan. My nutritionist put me on a plan. My doctor put me on a plan. My dentist put me on a plan. When I was an athlete back in the day, the good coaches keep you on a plan. So, and I think really the best plans are the ones you put on yourself. So, to speak quite candidly, once my sister passed, I was very afraid of what my life could end up like. I was afraid I would end up like her in certain circumstances. So I thought a good place to start was my weight, and because I knew it, once I could see myself better, not only feel better, but visually see myself better, like I can physically see the results in the mirror when I see myself, that would make me happier. That would make me less judgmental, less angry, basically much less of an asshole cunt. And I was right. I lost some weight. It was hard, people. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I had to do a lot of shit, but I had to do it my own way. My nutritionist gave me ideas. Some worked, some didn't. She wanted me to keep a journal. That helped. She asked if I could give myself positive affirmation if I did a good job, and I said I doubt it. What works better for me is if I shame myself, if I beat myself up. And she thought I was kidding. I'm like, no, I'm serious. It works for me. And so we agreed to disagree on that, but we also said, okay, well, let's go halfway. Don't be a Nazi to yourself and take away any enjoyment. Like, you're not I feel like not too is a strong word there. You're not a drill sergeant. There we go. It's a little bit better. But you also can't be lackadaisical. You can't just say, well, fuck it every day and eat whatever you want. So, like, just doing what they asked of me and then kind of doing my own thing and combining them. And I was seeing that the results were happening. I was getting it done. And then I could move on to other issues. I had sleep issues. I didn't want to be taking medication every night to sleep. And fuck melatonin. That shit doesn't really work, you know. It only kind of masks the problems. It's like taking ibuprofen if you break a bone. It's not doing shit for the bone. Taking away the pain a little bit, you're still got a broken bone, motherfucker. So, and then it was just like a trickle-down thing. Now, this actually worked, unlike trickle-down economics. Huzzah! No, so this actually did have a trickle-down effect. Like, once I got the weight, and then I got the eating habits, then I got the exercise, then I got the sleeping, and then I could work on my other issues like wardrobe. I needed to update a lot of my clothes, shoes, you name it. Like, once I kind of felt better, I could buy things easier. I had better clarity on things. I had better judgment when it came to organization of said things. I could easily break up things that I needed and wanted and just desired, if that makes any sense. So, I don't know. It just kind of put me on, I guess, the right path for me. I mean, I sound like a cult leader. Let me put you on the right path. If you just do what I tell you to do. I heard a voice and it was mine and it said I was doing it right. I'm just saying what worked for me, people. So, anyway, my point of all this rambling is see professionals, listen to their advice. If you have to, mix in your own shit, but as long as you are getting what you want to get, it's there for the grabbing. Okay? And then once you grab it, you can do whatever you want with it, because it's yours. You know? Well, some things. I feel like I was talking like Donald Trump there. You just do what you want, you just grab it. I'm talking more about, things that you want to get in your life, not actual physical things. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about stealing or molesting. That's my point, people. Don't do that. I feel like I'm losing all the positive messages I had from this ramble. Anyway, to wrap it up, I started a new show. And I love it. It's called Better Things. It's on Hulu. It stars Pamela Adlon, it's one of my favorite character actresses. She's one of the funniest women, and I'm in love with it. I love her. I strongly recommend it. It's honestly one of the best comedies I've seen in a while because it juggles drama and family stuff and comedy. It's about a woman working in Hollywood trying to not make it as an actress, but just kind of stay alive in the business and raising 3 kids on her own. So it's like the working mom thing, like Mary Tyler Moore kind of shit. But it's real. It's grounded. Strongly recommend it. Strongly. Also, started the last season of Mr. Robot. Can't believe we've never talked about Mr. Robot on here. I know I say this a lot, but it's honestly one of my favorite shows, and I think it's one of the best shows in the last 20 years, probably top 50 all time. Mr. Robot is dank, and that show is fucked up. Fargo is good still. Every episode is a banger. But anyway, in closing, I hope I made some kind of positive impact through this podcast. Probably not, but I hope so. It helps me, so maybe that's all that matters. I don't know. Anyway, I love y'all. Hope you have a good weekend. It's supposed to get fucking freezing. We may even get some snow. And the Seahawks are playing Sunday night against the Cardinals. And the Dodgers and Rays are in the World Series. Go Tampa Bay. Fuck you, LA. You don't need another title. You don't need another title. Anyway, I love y'all. Take it easy. And don't do anything I wouldn't do.